I said a check 1, 2. Looks like it's all working. How's it going, everybody? And June. Today is June the 8th, 2025. Hope you guys are doing all right today. Just want to take a quick look, as usual, at a couple of things in the news today. Pam Bondi and Kash Patel. You may have seen this conflict between their statements. On the one hand, it seems like Pam Bondi clearly came out and said, we have tons of video about the Epstein Island situation. And on the other hand, it looks like Kash, well, he definitely came out and said, oh, there's no video, no video. So I wanted to give my 2 cents on those two things, and also on the ICE situation in LA. That's kind of an I told you so. Not for you guys. I mean, obviously, you guys knew also, but for people who didn't know. But anyway, let's get back to Pam and Kash. Okay, Pam, I want to introduce you to prosecutors speak. If you haven't been introduced to this before, well, this is an introduction. And here's how it goes. Prosecutors use a certain type of phraseology to make their points. You could call it lying. It's definitely misdirection. It's definitely misleading. And I'll show you how it works. It's very much akin to that mentalist that was on Joe Rogan the other day. And go watch that teacher's analysis of Joe Rogan's guest there. And he's very good. But this is another similar thing, just like that, only different. But I'll do it on Pam Bondi. Here's how it goes. What she does is she says a bunch of words, and then she says a logical thing, and she expects your mind to put it together and accept the words in the beginning as the facts and not the logical thing at the end. I'll tell you exactly how she does it in this particular situation. This is what she did. She said, we have thousands of videos or thousands of hours of videos of Epstein, and she basically said banging children and prominent people doing crazy shit on video. Okay, she said some words, and then she said, or child porn. Or child porn. And it was right at the end. And the way that prosecutors do this is they say a bunch of words, like they did it on the other guy, the guy who just got imported, I guess, undeported back to the United States. She said things like he trafficked firearms throughout the United States. Okay, now from her perspective, that could be one trip, literally one trip. Now she said hundreds of trips. Who knows? She said thousands of people, but she would say things like MS-13, gang members, children, firearms, and he transported people. And so your mind is meant to associate all these things together. And that's what Pam was trying to do with these videos when she's talking about all the videos that we've got. Now, I'm not saying we don't have videos. I'm sure there are videos. I'm confident that Epstein has videos. Or whoever has them now. And so Pam, though, by saying that stuff, that's just her speak. That's just prosecutor speak. You just have to see it that way. She says it about everything. Whenever you watch her speak, listen to the words, but then go right past that to whatever it is she's actually saying, because when you unscramble the words, it makes sense, and that's what she hides behind. And it's really disingenuous, and I know she's under some scrutiny right now from the bar or whatever, but they suck too, and I don't put any credence behind that, except that there's a large number of people behind the particular complaint that is against her. So we'll see how that all plays out. I told y'all not to trust her from the beginning, so we'll see. Now, Kash, on the other hand, from my perspective, is a terrible liar. He tries to hide behind a couple of statements when he's talking to Joe that just really sound like what liars say. And let me just tell you, as a defense attorney, I've heard a lot of people lie because people, criminals who commit crimes, come in to your office as a defense attorney, and they figure if they can convince you of the lie, that you'll convince the judge or the jury, and then therefore they'll get off. So they lie. That's the first thing they do, is they try to convince you of some crazy version of the story. And humans have an amazing capacity or incapacity to make up lies. They have the capacity to repeat the same types of lies, the dog ate my homework types of things. So when you see Kash say these things, I'll tell you the three things that I saw which sound like tells to me. In the very short clip, I didn't watch the whole Joe Rogan thing, but the very short pieces that I have seen, what he said was, when Joe confronted him directly about the women, the girls, Kash says, well, we don't want to re-victimize them. We're not going to do that. We don't want to re-victimize the women. We're not going to do that. And then he said, that's logical. That was the little quip he said, almost to himself. That's logical. Like, as though he has to justify not doing a trial because of the impact on the victims. That is a calculation that is made every single time there's a rape situation. And you know what you do? You let the victim make up their mind, really. Most of the time. I mean, sometimes the state doesn't even do that. They'll just go ahead with the prosecution. But in this case, there's obviously more than one victim. There's obviously dozens or hundreds of alleged victims, right? According to Pam's statement. So if that's the case, surely some of them want to go forward with the trial and be re-victimized. But no. Sort of a blanket statement. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. Sounds very disingenuous. Sounds very bad. Sounds like a lie. The second thing that he does is then, let's see, what does he say? He says, if I had a video, wouldn't I show it to you? Which is a classic way that a guilty person denies things. If I did it, wouldn't I X, Y, Z? Wouldn't I tell you? Like, just say, no, there is no video, like Dan did. Dan's much better at this. But Kash says, if I had a video, wouldn't you think I would show it to you? Yes, that's why we're expecting you to show it to us. But not say shit like that. That sounds like a big fat lie. And then the third major thing is during the podcast, what's his name? Joe's assistant makes a comment that there's a big online fight going on between Elon and Trump. And he says, and he pulls up Elon's quote about Trump being involved in the Epstein files. And Kash says, I'm not getting into that discussion. I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. Why not just say, that's not true? That's not true. Because he can't. He can't say, that's not true. He literally can't say it. And so he says these other half denials, which are crap. And it's just such a tell, unfortunately. Now, look, do I think Donald Trump is in the Epstein files, in the Epstein logs? Okay, we have to make some distinctions here. We know he was a friend of Epstein's. He probably went to the island. Did he go to the island and watch porn? I mean, did he hire above age girls to go to the island? Right? Wouldn't that put you on the logs, on the flights and everything? But yet, still something terribly, terribly bad. Looks horrible. Because now everybody associates Epstein with child rape and whatever. People are even crossing over. They're like, what did they say? They were talking about somebody hiring young girls, and they're like, so that means that he likes young boys. It's like, no, that doesn't mean that at all. But everybody has put Epstein and all of his clients in that bucket. So now, if anything comes out about any of those people, the first thing people are going to think of is pedophile, illegal pedophile island. And so, the prosecutor has done their job in this case by creating these words together so that you really, and that's, I bet what they've told Kash and Bongino is, look, we got Clinton on the island, we got Trump on the island, we got Biden on the island, we got all these high-level people who else? Several other some of the intelligence people, all on video, all that kind of stuff. And they're like, look, if you bring it all out, then we all go down. And so you really can't do it now. Maybe people have destroyed certain parts of the evidence at this point. Who knows? You'd think they'd be able to leak a little bit of the Trump video here or a little bit of the Clinton video there. We haven't seen any of that. We haven't seen any of it, which is really interesting that they've been able to keep all of that off the internet. I mean, you can see video of whatever celebrity you want to, but the politicians seem to kind of stay off of the radar somehow. You know, they got that secret fund in Congress that they pay off people who make claims. But the bottom line is, Kash's line is ass off. He knows shit that he's not sharing. And it's too bad. But look, I mean, I understand. He's been told, I'm sure, loyalty to the United States, you swore an oath to the Constitution, and we'll kill you. Or, you know, the lizard people will eat your babies or something. Perhaps. No. I think they probably just impress upon you. Look, you know, like I said, we're all going down. We're all going down if some of us go down. So nobody goes down. And it's just zip, zip, zip. They're all like, yeah, he killed himself. Sure he did. Sure he did. I mean, that's just, oh my God. You got it. When it just looks, smells, walks, flies, quacks, waddles, it does everything like a freaking duck, man. It's a duck. So it'll all come out. And of course, he'll have immunity from, I mean, he's not under oath on Joe Rogan's show or anything. And neither is Bondi when she's doing her things. I don't even think she'll survive the administration. Not that really says anything, but I mean, she's terrible. She's terrible. All right, ICE. Did I get to the ICE thing yet? No. ICE. Very quick. I did an entire show about why it's a terrible idea for the feds to get involved in a nationwide roundup of suspected non-citizens because they're allowed to pick up suspects. And they're doing this shit exactly like you would not want them to, which is they go into schools. I mean, firsthand accounts, not this news shit, of kids in schools crying because the parents aren't coming to pick them up because they've been bagged by ICE. They're going to workplaces. I mean, look, if you break into a country and what you do there is get a job, get married, and have children, I mean, what kind of criminal are you at that point? You're a terrible criminal at that point. And I think, you know, a certain amount of that stuff, you just earn your citizenship. There just should be. Now, I mean, it can't be that easy because obviously it would all be forced. But as I said from the beginning, I'm pro borders. You have to have a border, but I'm open immigration from the standpoint of we should be letting people in if they pass a background check. If we can sort of eliminate the possibility that they're ISIS or Chinese spies or whatever it is, then you generally want to let people in because you generally want immigration. We've known that for centuries. It's been a fantastic boon to our economy and to our national spirit for centuries, and we want to keep that going, but it has to be controlled. You can't just have anybody coming in because then, as anybody has pointed out, there's no borders, then what the hell are we doing here? I mean, we're just playing around. You know, it's hard to enforce the laws when you can't take the time to introduce people to the laws. So look, they've done a good job from the standpoint of closing up the borders. I think they should do that. As I said, I think we should have a liberal process of letting people in. But in terms of the people who are here already, what you do is you wait for them to turn up in bad places, and then you deport them. Look, I've been in and out of criminal courts for decade and a half, 2 decades now, and 2.5. And I can't tell you how many people, I mean, hundreds of people that I've seen were illegal aliens, and they did not deport them, even though they're committing felonies. They're just like, oh well, we're not gonna enforce this one. So hopefully, I mean, that's the place that you do it. You know, it's like, look, you're going to your job, you're going to your school, picking your kid up. Nobody should be messing with you. But if you end up in prison or jail, well, that should be your one-way ticket back. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on ICE. From here, it just gets worse if Trump tries to keep enforcing it. I mean, I don't think it's going to get too far out of hand, but it's just going to be bad. And we don't want institutions designed to infiltrate and kidnap citizens. I mean, we don't want large-scale federal SWAT teams is basically what they come down to if we don't have to have them, and we don't. So, like I said, you wait for some trouble. Wait for the people to cause the trouble. Bag all the MS-13 members. Bag the people who are committing the crimes. But not the people who are doing the work, having families. Man, I could tell you tragic. One final tragic story I'll just tell you. Now, this was now 2 decades ago, but this is the kind of thing that I've seen happen before. Well, shit. It's a different kind of story. I won't tell you. Bottom line is, they suspected the father. God, I should elaborate. All right, I got to tell you the story real quick. Father calls the police, okay, because of something going on next door at their apartments. Father's Hispanic. Police show up. They go to the door of the place where the person has called the police. And they say, what's going on? And he says, next door, and there's a ruckus or whatever it is. They go by there. They don't find anything. Nothing's happening anymore. But then they come back and they look at the guy who called the cops, this little Hispanic man, and his wife and his kid are standing there in the doorway. And they look at the three of them and they go, geez, how old's your wife there? And the guy's like 19. And they're like, how old's your kid? And the kid's like 3. And the cop's like, oh my God, you're a pedophile. Because under our laws, this guy had raped his wife, right? Because she was clearly under 18 when the kid was born, when she was impregnated. So what they do, they arrest the guy, charge him with felony rape, statutory rape, and they deport him. And of course, he was taking care of the mom and the child and the grandmother. But since they deported him and he lost his job and all their income, family couldn't support themselves. So they had to move the mom and the child and the grandmother to a women's shelter. They destroyed the family. Okay, now I realize this is all attached to people's concept of statutory rape, but it was his child, for Christ's sake. He was taking care of it. He was taking care of business. There was no rape involved. It was completely consensual. And that's why you have to have exceptions for kind of stuff like that. You have to have judges use judgment. But they didn't in this case. The police used no judgment. And they deported the guy. But it's an ancillary story, not really related, but law enforcement today. Anyway. So, that's my 2 cents. Hope y'all are doing well.